Zettelkasten, Paradise versus Apocalypse, and your second brain. Hello, everyone. My name is Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church or in the comments below if you like to. Otherwise, you can like, share, and subscribe, and maybe YouTube will pass this on to somebody else. Who knows? Who knows? It is a pleasure for me to be back with you again today, sharing part of this journey with you, and hoping that it benefits you going forward. Now, I began the Zettelkasten journey several months ago, and it has been very valuable for a lot of different reasons. One thing that I don't talk very much about here is the need to have a second brain working for you in tough times. Let me just check something on my machine. Yeah, that's all fine. My software is down there, and I always want to be sure that it continues to run. In tough times. Now, just in case you've noticed, in the last 2 years, things have become much more difficult for many of us. Not all of us. Some have found it actually easier. But by and large, things have become more difficult. We've had this whole trouble all over the planet to go through, and it's not looking like we're going to ever get back to where it was in 17, 18, and 19. And I think that's all by design. I think as the global economy is, especially in the West, is collapsing, there is our leaders are on a front foot in order to restrict people and use terms like sustainability and so on and so forth to give us less and less and less and hold us more and more and more in control. And of course, that is a very unpleasant place to be. The best definition of freedom that I have ever heard is this: someone who is free is somebody who is the author of their destiny as much as possible. Obviously, you cannot entirely author your destiny. There are many forces around you that influence you, but as much as possible, you're the author of your destiny. That's freedom. And you will notice that changes that have come upon us, particularly in the last probably 25 years, have meant for many of us in the West, the options, the opportunity to be authors of our own destiny has minimized or has begun to reduce. And it's going to become a lot tougher going forward. And in order for this to be something that you can manage and do well, and I can manage and do well in, we need as much thinking power at our disposal as possible. We need that second brain. And that's why the Zettelkasten approach, in my view, is so effective. Now, it's effective for many reasons. One thing is that I noticed the moment I started, it reduced a kind of anxiety that I held that was kind of fake anxiety. But you'd have this information in your head. It kind of sticks somewhere here in my mind. I don't know which left brain, right brain, I don't know, but I'm aware of it kind of here. And it's information that I know I need to somehow get out of my head, but I don't want to lose it. And once I got my head around the Zettelkasten process, I learned that I could start taking that information, putting it in a range of Zettels cards in a box that would then take it from my head, but also continue to make those things usable and workable. And that was like the first wow. The second thing that I learned is that it helped me to store and maintain knowledge that I had, but also to grow on it and grow with it at the same time. And now, because my Zettels are all keyed with a particular date key, I can then look back and say, okay, in March of this year I was thinking this way, but now in August of this year I'm thinking a lot better. I can see how I have matured. So actually, your Zettels become not only two-dimensional when you look at them, but three-dimensional. There's a time component, how you're growing, how you're changing. Now, what I also need to do is I need to learn some new skills. I need to learn document and book formatting. And I have to tell you, I don't, and this will be the hands-on lesson for today, if you will, I don't enjoy this topic at all. But that's not true. Since I've applied myself, I've begun to enjoy it a little bit. It's a bit surprising. I've begun to be much more interested in it, and that's also very curious. Part of this is my need to know it, okay? And that also builds curiosity, and that's fine. Now think about tough times coming. There are things that I'm sure you could, by learning, could help you to deal with the times to come. That is just complicated English, but maybe you know where I'm going. I'm pretty sure you're thinking, if I could just develop the ability to maybe run a business or minimize my costs or better do the things that I'm doing, who knows? It would seem, by looking at the world today, that the thing called meritocracy is dead. People don't seem to be hiring and promoting on merit anymore. It's like, well, you know, I'm capable, I've got merit, I've got all these things and whatever, and how come I'm not the guy who gets the job, or I'm not the guy who gets the contract, or whatever? That seems to be one thing that goes against people who think hard and work hard and want to accomplish the best. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, meritocracy is dead. Long live meritocracy. It's still out there, and it always will be. It is important for you to be the best you that you can be, to be the best at everything that you can be, to be the best you can be at everything that you do. Do what you do well. A former employer of mine, I call him the Crazy Dutch Farmer, used to sing that "Do what you do well" song. It's irritated me. It still grates me, even though the message in the song was pretty good. Okay, back to my book formatting thing and how the Zettelkasten approach works, and how a question was, and I'm answering a question here as well. A very good friend of mine said, well, I've seen one or two of your videos, but what's the difference between putting a card in a box and just putting something in a notebook? Now, if you don't link the cards and create this whole node web relationship, then a notebook is actually better, because at least you got some context as to what was going on. Did you hear what I just said? If your card is just out there floating around, it's not particularly good. It needs to be linked. It needs to be created. Now, it needs to you create links with other cards. I'm going to just show you this image that I put up in my last video where I talked a bit about Nicholas Luhmann. And, that was here. Let me just change the focus of my, there you go. Now, this is a mind map, or this is a map generated by Zettelkasten software of what people have or held in their heads. And you'll notice around this particular image, around the ring, can you see my mouse? Oh, you can. Around the ring here, there are some little items that stand alone. They're unlinked. Now, you do not want this to be a large amount. You want to review your Zettels as much as possible to link these in with other nodes. Otherwise, they become wasted, and they're just wasted pieces of paper you'll have to find at some later time. Some of these could be months or maybe years old. And you notice the more you link them, then the more they influence or are influenced by the core nodes. So this would be on the outside perimeter here that I'm circling. This would be just a card in a box. That is not any better than a note in a notebook. Well, probably it's worse because it just floats around. But by the time you get it here, by the time you get it into the network, you're starting to do something valuable with it. In fact, if you've got an IT background, you probably are aware of the importance of networking hardware. You see a particular computer, you say, well, let's log on and do that. Oh, it's not on the network. Oh, what are we using this for? Maybe just printing some things or a bit of training or whatever. It's not very useful anymore. The instrument has to be on the network. And these days, everything seems to be on the network for some reason. It's the same with your nodes. Okay, what's my time like? Let me hop into this. This will probably be useful for you. So I knew I had to get to the book formatting, document formatting thing, and so I started a bridging note. We've talked about this, and I don't know if you can see it. Can you? Oh, yep, you can see it. My writing's not very good. And I noted it as a bridging note. This sits in a different place in my box. All the bridging notes sit in a place specific to bridging notes. They'll become an index as they grow, because eventually there'll be enough of them, and then there'll be bridging notes to bridging notes. Just think about the node thing, okay? And the bridging node had a time on it. What was the time and the date? What is the date? Which was 2022-0807B, because I'd just done something else earlier on in the day. So I've got this, I've got the bridging node. And it just sat there. And I knew that once I got onto this topic, I would start doing something special with it. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to start learning this topic. And I started where everybody starts these days, and went to YouTube, the YouTube Sensei, and started listening to some talks in the background while that was going on. And the young lady I was talking about made some extremely good comments that I thought, these are going to be useful. And I don't have my glasses on. I can't read them without my glasses. This would be the advantage of a digital system. Nevertheless, the first note I took was 2022-09-12A. 2022-09-12A. Doesn't matter that you can't read that. You probably can if I hold it up there like that, and my camera focuses. Little Logitech's working pretty hard today. So I noted that. Now, if I just left it in the box, that would be a problem. If I didn't do anything else with it, it was going to float. I was going to lose it. So here's the process that I use. On the front of the card, I put a little arrow, okay? Now the purpose of the arrow is to tell me that this card is linked to another card. Does that make sense? And so what is the number that I put on the back of this card here? The number I put was, we've already talked about it, 20220807B. What's that number? That's the number of the bridging card. So right now I have a bridge between these two cards. So then I went a little bit farther that day, and this was like a good day for learning on this topic, and I got to my next one. And my next one was more important information that I can't read without my glasses, but bear with me. It was the second card, actually, 20220912B. So the first one was 12A, 12B. What did I do? I put a little arrow on the side here, and I did that. Now, I've marked this to these cards, but the moment I did that, I did something else as well. I went back to this card, and I put the listed other noted cards on it. Okay, so the moment I wrote, I went to 2022, I went to 20220912, which is the 12th of September, 22. Okay, the moment I did that, I marked the cards and what's it related to? It's related to my bridging card, which is this one. So then I got to my bridging card and I did something on it as well. The moment this card came to the bridge, I noted the ID of this card on the bridge. So today when I wanted to talk about this topic, it actually, and there's a third one here. You notice there's 3 lines on the bridge. I'm excited about this topic. Today when I wanted to talk about this, I didn't have to zip through all of my cards to find all the cards related on this topic. I had to go to one place first. That was my bridging. I went to my bridging card and it said, go to these 3 days and you can get them. Now, there's a thing that I could have done, but it's not necessary, and I might at some time. On the bridge line, I might put a little note about what the card was about, okay? So the beauty of this was I went to my bridge and I pulled all my cards out. Now, when I'm done this conversation, I'm going to go back to my box and I'll be able to put all of these back exactly where I found them, okay? In exactly the same order. So it's A, B, C, just like that. They're going to slide in the right place exactly, just as if I'd never taken them out. The bridge will go where the bridge is, and it will be in order too, okay? So what we've just done is we've said this is an effective way now of taking this information and putting it there so it's not lost. Now there's a beautiful thing that's going on here that maybe some of you are connecting with as well, okay? So let's say that this topic, this one actually is, also related to public speaking and to helping me to keep my presentations correct and to use the correct kind of words and the correct sentence formation and so on. Much harder to do, by the way, when you don't have a live audience. When you've got a live audience, they're going to give you this, you're saying it wrong, someone's going to laugh, they're going to chuckle and say, oh, what did I say? You know, when all you have is this little camera, man, that's tough. But this could be related to that. So this might have more than one bridging card at the back, okay? I might flip over and say, okay, this is related to, yes, my book bridging. So you notice on the back I've said book bridging, but maybe the next line might say public speaking bridging. Or logical fallacies bridging, or something like that, you know. So, or it might not relate to a bridge, it might relate simply to another zettel somewhere, and they may be connected. And then you start drawing these connections. Now, when you start doing that, something inside you starts to change about that topic as well. And this is the wonder of this. You haven't just nailed this like an index point in a book in some linear fashion, but you've given it the opportunity to talk to many, many other inputs. And that's where creativity comes from. So creativity really comes from, it really comes or is stimulated when you have an unrestricted ability to relate thoughts to each other. Unrestricted ability. The other day, you know, I was one of those YouTube feed things, just let the feed happen and enjoy it in the background while I'm working or trying to do something, unless it's too distracting. And this Japanese woodworker, and one of the things I just love watching the precision of Japanese woodworkers, and he had built a parallel guide, a set of parallel guides for his Makita power tools. What's that mean? Well, if you have a power drill, you notice it's got a rounded back, and it's not really in line with the drill bit. And I thought, yes, many times I've used it. I wish I could line it up. You're always lining it up like that. Well, he built, and this is complex, took time, he built a guide that he could embed his drill in and secure the guide. He could then run the the drill up and down against a vertical or an angled, preset angled piece, and always get the right position, the right angle, the right cut. I looked at that and I thought, now, that's just so wonderful. He's taken the need to do something. He's bumped into a problem that he's had in his life that I've had many times, right? And he's used another one of his skills, and he's joined these two together and produced a really, really, really nice tool guide. Well, this is how invention works. Invention does not, and creativity does not lock yourself into a particular channel. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as times are getting tougher, and they are, as money is getting shorter, and yes it is, as food is getting harder to find, and yes it is, and as travel is becoming much more difficult, nearly impossible for many people, and yes it is, it will be important for you to develop and keep your skills high, live in a meritocracy, be the best that you can be, because those times are going to change, and you want to be ready for it. I have to tell you, I've really enjoyed this session. I hope that it meant something to you as well. The conversation today has been Zettelkasten, Paradise versus Apocalypse, and your second brain.